Hey everyone, and welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to decode the actual mechanics of education. We're looking at the true concept and objectives of teaching. Whether you're a lifelong learner or someone who regularly shares knowledge with others, understanding how this process really works is going to completely change how you look at information sharing.
So I want to ask you this directly. Is teaching just giving instructions? Like if I tell you to go to the store and buy milk, did I just teach you? We throw that word around constantly in our daily lives. We use it when we show someone how to use a new coffee machine or when we just hand someone a manual. But is that actually what it means to teach? Well, we're going to challenge that baseline assumption right now.
Section 1. Beyond simple instruction. Okay, let's dive into this. We're moving past our everyday, mundane assumptions about education to see what is really happening beneath the surface.
Notice the key words here: deliberate and professional. Teaching is a deliberate professional activity. It is not just casual instruction. When we say deliberate, it means there's deep intentionality behind it. It's not accidental. It's not just talking at someone and hoping they absorb something by pure chance. And calling it a professional activity elevates it even further. It requires structure, methodology, and a planned outcome. It's an active, constructed process, far removed from simply reading a list of instructions out loud.
Section 2. Teaching, Training, and Conditioning. Now that we know what teaching is, we really need to understand what it isn't. We constantly mix up these three distinct methodologies: teaching, training, and conditioning. In casual conversation, we treat these as synonyms, right? We might say we're training our minds or teaching a dog a trick. But in the architecture of education, they are entirely different concepts. They are for sure not the same thing. Training is often highly specific, usually focused on a mechanical or physical task. Conditioning is about creating a reflexive response to a specific stimulus. But teaching, as we just established, is that deliberate, professional activity aimed at broader cognitive and personal development.
The crucial difference really comes down to teaching versus conditioning. Conditioning is all about generating an automatic response. Think of ringing a bell and expecting a specific physical reaction. It bypasses deep critical thought. Teaching is the exact opposite. It's about fostering understanding, reasoning, and independent thought. When you're teaching, you aren't trying to program a reflex, you're trying to construct a framework of knowledge that the learner can actually use independently. Grasping this difference is absolutely vital to understanding true education.
Section 3. The three primary objectives. So, if teaching is this deliberate, professional activity that's distinct from mere conditioning, what exactly is it trying to achieve? What's the why behind it?
Well, there are three primary objectives of teaching, and they're divided into perfectly equal parts: knowledge transmission, skill development, and attitude formation. What you should really take away from this is the concept of balance. A complete, effective teaching approach requires all three of these foundational parts. If you're only transmitting knowledge but totally ignoring skills and attitudes, the learning is incomplete. The wheel wobbles, so to speak. Real teaching addresses the whole learner to these three equal avenues.
Let's lock these in. Number 1, knowledge transmission. This is the sharing of facts, concepts, and information. The what? Think of memorizing the periodic table. Number 2, skill development. This is giving the learner the ability to apply that knowledge practically. The how. It's like moving from just understanding the concept of gravity to actually building an airplane. And number 3, attitude formation. This is shaping perspectives, values, and mindsets. The why it matters. This is about developing a deep respect for scientific inquiry or a real passion for historical context. Knowledge, skill, attitude. When a deliberate professional activity successfully integrates all three of these, that is when true education happens.
Section 4. The tripolar process. Let's move to this next part and see how this builds into the conceptual climax of our whole explainer.
This transmission happens in real time through what the source material calls the tripolar process. Here's the first essential component, pole 1, the teacher. Now, based on everything we've covered, we know the teacher is not just a broadcaster of instructions. The teacher is the professional, deliberate architect of the experience. They act as one anchor point in this highly dynamic system, setting the stage for the objectives we just discussed to really take root.
And immediately across from them is pole 2. The learner. The learner is absolutely not some empty vessel just passively waiting to be filled with conditioned responses. Remember, we're talking about teaching here, not conditioning. The learner is an active, vital participant. Without their engagement, their processing, and their unique perspective, the entire process completely stalls out. The dynamic requires their active energy just as much as the teacher's.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the final vital component, Pole 3, the content. This shows us that teaching is a dynamic, three-way interaction. It is not a one-way street from teacher to learner. The teacher interacts with the learner interacts with the content, and the teacher interacts with the content to facilitate the learner's understanding. It's this vibrant, interconnected triangle. The knowledge, the skills, and the attitudes we talked about, they live right inside this tripolar dynamic. If you remove any one of these three poles, teacher, learner, or content, the whole structure of teaching simply collapses.
So what does this all mean? How does understanding this tripolar dynamic shift our own responsibility? If teaching isn't just giving instructions, and if learning requires you to be an active pole in a dynamic three-way interaction, how does that change the way you'll approach your next learning opportunity? You see, we are all at different times in our lives, both the teacher and the learner. By recognizing that teaching is a deliberate professional activity targeting knowledge, skills, and attitudes through a shared tripolar process, we can actually take ownership of our role in that triangle. Think about that the next time you sit down to learn something new or stand up to share what you know. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring.